talking to you today about my weirdness feeling about football contracts before we talk about national board order. And the reason is because I found out something super weird this past week. So it's the eve before NFL preseason starts, and we have Joe Flacco as a backup quarterback for Joe Burrow, but his contract is only $6 million and Joe's is $275 million. So why is the math not mathing? Tell me. And is that like ages? Because Joe Flacco is 41. He's like the oldest NFL quarterback in the league. Who cares? He's awesome. He let the Bengals win a few times last season. But I do want to go to the Bucks and Bengals game on September 13. That's a Sunday. It's in Cincinnati at the Paycor Stadium. And those are just some musings that I have before we start our video. Why I recommend completing national board components backward 4, 3, 2, 1 from Tracey Bryant. Because if you start with component 4, you get to know your students. It's a great place to begin because it encourages you to look closely at your teaching practice, who your students are, what they need, what are they like as individuals, what are their strengths, interests, needs, and experiences. How do they communicate and demonstrate what they know? What do you notice when you observe them in different settings? And it helps you create a system for collecting information about them from the very beginning. Why not do it that way? And that we are also preparing for component 1 as the year progresses. Then you're not just collecting stuff, you're trying to get a deep understanding of your students so you can inform your instructional decisions, which is the whole point of all national boards anyway. You're moving them to component 3, which is considering what a good lesson looks like and practicing the rule of 70-30. You want your videos when you get to component 3 to be seamless. You're getting ready to ask questions. You're letting the students arrive at the answer while you're videoing. 70-30 means 70% of the time the students are answering your questions. 30% of the time you are, shh, don't talk so much. You're just asking questions that build on another question when the student responds. And you want to showcase how well your students can communicate with the questions you're asking based on the target, the objective of the lesson. So you're trying to show, what does the student understand? What can the student do independently based on your questioning? What does the evidence tell me about my instruction? And where is the student experiencing difficulty? That's why you're asking those sequential questions. But yeah, develop your assessment based on those formative and summative tests. And then when you save samples of your student work, you can also use that for component 2. Do you see how working backwards is really beneficial? Then the story of the data tells you about the student. And this is throughout a few months. So if you start in September, you can build that foundation of getting to know the students and the parents, thinking about how getting that knowledge impacts the community. More on that tomorrow because I have to get my nails done.
Whoa, how'd I get here? So we were talking about component 2 and how did we transition from using component 3 material to make component 2 a seamless transition. But I want to clarify that you should already be collecting data during the time that you're videoing and you're differentiating your lessons. That could be even during your videos. But if you check your instructions very carefully, there's very specific guidelines based on your component instructions and focus of instruction, focus of which subject you're taking the national boards on, which students you can repeat, because I believe you cannot use the same students for component 3 and 2 or something like that, but you can use them for 4. You'll have to double check your instructions. But yes, for component 2, you're using what you know about your students to differentiate. And component 4 and 2 is deep dives into how you already know your students. Ask yourself, why did you choose that strategy for differentiation? You're already a master at it. All you're doing is explaining why you differentiated the lesson. It could even be like writing somebody's name, and then moving on to last name. Why did you have this person do it in May and the other person you waited till August or whatever? Then you're talking about using that assessment evidence when you differentiate to reflect. And you're doing that for both students. So that chain of thinking is extremely valuable throughout the national board process. You can make your instructional decisions traceable, but then this already prepares you for being a master at component 1, because you're explaining a snapshot of a student's weaknesses so you can help them grow and meet the instructional goal you have for each student. That's your prompt for CR1. So if you do it backwards, you're better prepared to demonstrate your knowledge of content, pedagogy, students, and accomplished teaching by the time you start studying for component 1 and by the time you take your in-person test. Some people choose to do that in March, and then they turn in their portfolio and then have the whole summer off. That's your choice. But yeah, just to summarize, component 4, get to know your students, understand their learning needs. Component 3, use your content knowledge to showcase how your students practice sequential reasoning. Component 2, use student work samples to gather and analyze evidence of student learning, and be prepared to discuss why you differentiated those lessons. Use what you know about students and their learning to make intentional instructional decisions. And by that time, you know how to talk to your assistant so they're gathering, if you have one, data and labeling them correctly, choosing that skilled person to help you differentiate, asking them for advice on how to differentiate. Use your staff, use your support staff, and help leverage them to make your classroom a team environment. But yeah, why not? That's what I did. It helped me get a good score in component 2. And I really am proud of that, because I was able to see how well my support staff can see the student and what they can gauge they may be able to do in the next week or so. But she also challenged those students, I believe, better than I did. And we just collected the samples. The kids kept it in their notebooks, and I literally just ripped them off, but they were already dated every single day. So they had a date on them, so I could see progression. So finally, my biggest tip is start collecting evidence early. Don't wait till you think you're working on a particular component. Create a system that allows you to capture evidence as you teach. Student observations, sample, voice recordings, parent interviews, and use that while you execute rotations, parent-teacher conference, and as you're modeling sequential reasoning. Okay, it is now time to sign off. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips. I think I'm going to do a video next on one of the other components besides 1. Give me a couple weeks, and there will be more to come out. Thank you for making it this far in your process to being the best educator you can be in your content area. Bye. Love you. Should I go to the Max McNown concert, Jack Harlow concert, or the Bucks and Bengals season opener week 1 in Paycor Stadium? What's your choice? What do you guys think?